All right, July 3rd, 3rd of 2024, take 2. The battery on my GoPro Hero 9 was dead, so we're switching over to the 11, so now we're working on the 11. Anyway, today is the 3rd of July, day before the 4th, and not a whole lot to report of anything significant. Here's one deal. I ordered a little 6-inch chart plotter, MFD, multifunction display, I guess it is. Little 6-inch Garmin. I just decided to go with the Garmin throughout. I've got it in my small boat. I got a 9-inch chart plotter in there. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I've also got another chart plotter, a Humminbird chart plotter depth finder that I'll probably put back in the small boat, and then I'll put the 9-inch in here. And the reason I bought this was simply because, again, it was cheap. They had a sale on them, $299. And of course, with an MFD with a multifunction display, you can program these to display either, copy what you're seeing on your helm station, or you can have gauges, instruments, whatever you can display with this. Wind, whatever. Or use it strictly as a bottom finder, then use your other ones strictly as a chart plotter. Anyway, so I decided for $299, this was cheap enough that we would use it as a display somewhere. And it comes with a transducer for the depth sounder. So, yeah, pretty good deal. Obviously, this isn't one of the state-of-the-art new ones, one of the newest models, but it's certainly capable of doing everything you'd need it to do. Also, I got a pair of these. These are supports for working overhead. These are expandable, and you can lock them in place. Actually, it looks like they ratchet up and lock in place, and you can hold things up, panels up over your head, whatever. I don't know, I saw somebody else using these, and I thought that's a good idea, and they aren't that terribly expensive, so I got a pair of them. On the boat, we are continuing on. I had John out the other day, John Hahn, out the other day helping me put this panel on. And we got it in place, obviously, and I've got the bottom prepped for the next one. So here in the next couple days, we'll probably get this next panel put on, and then things are going to start getting easier. Well, after 4 panels around here, we're getting to the point where we're getting close to being done too. And then these panels here are going to be significantly easier to work with because they're, like I said, again, farther out and easier to get at. In this panel, I put the last coat of epoxy on last night, and boy, does it have an amine blush. Man, it's sticky. The epoxy is cured, but I guess it's humidity and temperature conditions determine how much of that amine blush shows up on there, and of course some bugs. And in this one too, again, it almost did the fisheye doohickey thing. I'm not sure why. I tried rolling this out a little better. Must be something to do with the warmer temperatures, I don't know. But again, it'll sand down all right, and then we'll get another coat of epoxy on it once it's on the boat, and then of course it'll get primer and that'll get sanded. And this other panel that I put on, I talked about, it had the kind of the fisheye deal too, and you can see some of those little indents here. Not ideal, but it's not that big a deal because, like I said, another coat of epoxy goes on, and then theoretically when that's sanded, those should be gone. If not, then the primer, that goes on, it gets sanded. Hopefully that'll fill those little imperfections. And if not, it's not the end of the world. I'm not gonna be that fussy. But anyway, this panel probably needs one more day to cure. So tomorrow, I'll probably get this cleaned up. And then I don't know, whenever I can get help to come out here and put that up, whether that's tomorrow or day after, whatever that may be. And I've also been doing a little bit of work up here. John Han helped me with this too. We got 2 more pieces of plywood glued in up here, and then last night I pulled all the screws out. I was gonna start putting those panels over there in last night by myself, but boy, it just makes it so much easier if you got somebody on either end of the panel, because you got to put the glue down and pick them up and set them down in there. And not that you can't do it by yourself, but I don't know, I'll wait until either John or my brother or somebody can help with that. But we got the second layer on here anyway, at least on this side, and I got the pieces cut more or less, at least width-wise, to fit over there. And I've been using all construction adhesive. I debated using the tight bond, maybe inside in the middle, just spreading it out throughout, and I'm sure it would work fine. I'm sure it would. That's kind of what George called for. George Bueller had called for, said you didn't need to use anything fancy gluing these sheets together. He called for that powdered wood glue that you mix with water. He said what was adequate. So this stuff here, I'm sure, is regardless. That Tight Bond 3 is better than that powdered stuff, but yeah, we went with all that PL Premium gluing these down too. So as long as I can keep getting access to that PL Premium, I think that's probably just what we'll use. It's good stuff. So that's where we stand on the boat. John and I pulled the shaft out the other day because I knew I had to have the shaft out to get the bearing housings on there. And we pulled the shaft out, and then I thought about it, and I thought, well, I don't need to pull the shaft all the way out. I can slide the shaft housing on from back here, and all we have to do is pull it out 1.5 feet or so to get the shaft housing, bearing housing on inside. So we put the shaft back in. I'm thinking I was nuts and thinking I had to pull off. Well, then after we put it back in again, of course, I realized that the reason I had to pull the shaft out was because I need to bore into the end of the keel for this piece to slide into. And of course, I didn't realize that until after we'd stuck it back in there again. So we're gonna have to pull the shaft back out again and take all that stuff down over there again, pull the shaft out, and then I'll have to figure out a way of getting that board out there, which I think I'm going to just use a router and get as deep as I can. I can't quite get all the way, but I may just go in with something else. Let's see, I made this here to run the router a little bit bigger than what that hole actually is there, but well, that one's quite a bit bigger. Maybe that was for the other one. But anyway, I'll make something like this to run the router around to get those in. But I was thinking that's something we could be doing. I really wanted to get the rest of the plywood up on the deck above the engine room there, so that way I can start putting my insulation panels in the ceiling in the engine room, which is this 1-inch fiberglass here. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is that semi-rigid stuff like I used on the walls in the engine room, but doesn't have the aluminum coating on the one side, so it's just all fiberglass. So what I was thinking about doing was putting that stuff in and kind of friction fitting it, and then putting some wood strips in, and then putting some screwing some ceiling tiles, some acoustic ceiling tiles. So I'd have 1 inch of that fiberglass, and that is sound absorbing fiberglass. That's what that stuff is for. But then putting acoustic tiles under that, so I'd have just about 2 inches of insulation and then 1.5 inches of wood. I would think that would be plenty of insulation between the engine room ceiling and the pilot house above it. Not that you're gonna, the pilot house is that big a deal if there's a little engine noise in there, but you don't want it rumbling either. So yeah. Oh, and one other thing, Mr. Hahn has been helping me more, and he's gonna hopefully continue to help me more when he can. He's been working back here, washing the amine blush off the surface of the hull here, and he's doing a really good job. probably too good a job. I think I'm going to tell him when he comes back next time to not scrub quite so much. It's not that hard to get that amine blush off here. He doesn't need to sand it down with those Scotch-Brite pads. Just wash it off is all we need to do, because we're going to run the sander over it again too. So we're starting on the hull, and that's going to be a process that takes a long time. There's a lot of surface area here, and we're going to have a lot of work to do to, you know, we need to tape all these seams. We need to ream these seams out a little bit somehow. I thought about using a Dremel rotary tool, you know, the drum, sanding drum on here, just to ream those out a little bit to get the glue out of the way, and then give us a little bit better grab for filling this with thickened epoxy. And then we'll put tape, fiberglass tape, over all these seams, and then yeah, then we'll get another coat of epoxy on it, and then we can start working on finishing. And like I said, I don't think I'm gonna work that hard to give me a beautiful shiny yachty finish. And I don't know if you look down the side here too, you can see a little waviness in my chine point there. Frames weren't quite perfectly aligned evidently, and some of that we could take out with filler if we wanted to, you know, put some thickened epoxy in there and fair it all out. But again, it's not going to affect how the boat performs, so probably not going to go that route. But yeah, we just keep plugging away a little bit at a time. I'm having some health issues, so I don't know how much work I can do, and that's part of the reason why I'm starting to get some help out here now too. I've got some things going on that are limiting what I can do, which is unfortunate, you know, 3.5 years into this or whatever. And you know, a guy hopes, when you're younger, you think, I'm going to grow to be 85 years old. I'll just die in my sleep some night and never have to have any of those issues that people have when they start getting older. But that's probably a pipe dream, and I knew it was probably a pipe dream. And yeah, so there's certain things that start happening as you get older, and there's not much you can do about it, I guess. So we're just going to have to deal with them, do the best we can. And keep plugging away. I'm not going to get into specifics because that's not really necessary. You can about imagine there. But anyway, so we're still working. Maybe not as hard or as fast as what I would like, but we're still plugging away at it. So we'll just keep that up, and we'll let you know how it goes again next week.